Hello and welcome. This is Pam. Today I'm going to be sharing real recovery stories. I'm going to share stories of wellness champions that have graduated from the Live Disease-Free plan and students, wellness champion students that are in the program right now. You're going to hear stories of recovery of vision and also depression going away, mobility improving. And the neat thing is I'm going to share stories with you that you really cannot find any excuses that it can't work for you, because it's a great variety of different types of students. I'm going to share their successes. They're truly miraculous. They are amazing. I get to hear these stories every single week, and it is such an incredible honor to support these students. I'm just going to plug this in here for one moment so we have better audio. I just don't think I have a good connection here. There we go. Awesome. So today I will be sharing amazing successes from our wellness champions, recovery stories. And this is very near and dear to my heart because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 25 years ago. Actually, it's actually over 30 years ago now. And back then, I was told there was no hope for a cure, that I would be completely disabled in time. Well, I have been able to live decades free of multiple sclerosis, and now I have spent, I would say, the last over 20 years supporting others in recovering from chronic diseases like multiple sclerosis, but other diseases also. So what I'm going to share with you has not only helped me to live a long, healthy life. I'm 64 now, 8 grandchildren. It would have been very different if I had not learned this. And I believe it's by the grace of God we're doing this work. So let's start with the first student. And before I do that, though, I just wanted to quickly mention, what is the Live Disease-Free plan? What is our approach? Why is our approach different? Why is it that people are recovering from chronic disease? Well, it is because, number one, we are treating the root cause. Yes, we know what the root cause is. It is infections. It is chronic parasitic infections in the body. And as we treat those infections, our body goes back to running the way it should. I have shared so much evidence with you. There are many, many live events I've done, blog posts I've written. You can find them all on livediseasefree.com. You can find the edited versions of my videos. You can also just scan my notes. And there you're going to see the it's a very large and ever-growing body of research showing that multiple sclerosis is an infectious disease, and all autoimmune are infectious diseases, cancer, heart disease. They're all, the biggest part of causing the symptoms are chronic infections in the body that we don't have good tests for. Our practitioners are not, they're not studying this. They don't learn this in school. And so that's the dilemma that we're dealing with. But the science is out there. It's not hard to find the science. And I want you guys to share with me, have you ever thought that what you're dealing with, the terrible symptoms you're dealing with, are caused by parasites? Let me know if you've been hearing more and more. I think a lot of people have been hearing more about the parasite connection to chronic disease. But what I'm sharing with you today is really the potential. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to see the potential for yourself, how much you could possibly get back with recovery, how this could change your life, how this could allow you to go back to doing the things that you love to do, because this is what our students are doing. So and I'll talk a little bit about the steps we take to recover, what these students are doing to recover from chronic disease, to recover from these parasites. But before I do that, I just wanted to first share some of the stories. So the first student I wanted to share, she's in the program right now, and she is 60 years young. She does have support of her husband, so that's really nice when we have support, because when we're really disabled, it makes it hard. Sometimes we end up in care homes, and they're doing their best, but they are not going to go above and beyond with, things like enemas and treatment and all of that. So she's very, very fortunate that she does have her partner, her husband, that is helping her. So she was diagnosed in 1998. Her first symptom was in 1987. So that was like a year before my diagnosis. And looking back at her health history, she wrote that she just basically followed standard of care. She used the MS, disease-modifying drugs, in the past, and she hadn't really done a lot of integrative health. Her case study, her case report is really important because people that reach out to me sometimes, they're like, well, Pam, I think a lot of the people that you've helped, they're really young and they haven't had MS for a long time. Well, she's not really young. I mean, I'm older than her, but 60 years young is not super young. And she has had this disease, again, diagnosed in 1998, but the first symptom in 1987. So she's had it for a very long time. And following standard of care really was not helping at all. So she was dealing with mobility limitations, poor balance, weakness in her legs, spasticity, limited her standing tolerance. She was not able to stand for very long. She was essentially wheelchair bound. She could only walk very, very short distances, poor memory, and significant fatigue, depression, bladder issues. She had a catheter, and this was all her history and before she started the Live Disease-Free plan. Also, bowel incontinence. So most of our students have terrible constipation. A small number of them have diarrhea, and then some students have incontinence, so where they're not able to hold their stool, and that makes life a lot more complicated. So with following standard of care, over the years, she has just continued to progress to disability. And this was really impacting her quality of life. She was not able to, do a lot of social events. It took a lot of work to get to social events and to be involved. So we end up being a homebody. We're at home way too much. And she has a family and grandchildren. And so it's really limiting her life and her ability to enjoy and have fun with her family and her friends and just do social things. So she joined the Live Disease-Free plan in May of this year, 2025. And then we always start with the prep phase. We start with changing our diet. We know that parasites love simple sugars and carbohydrates. So by decreasing those favored food for the parasites, then she started to notice that she was starting to feel better. And one special thing about if we're dealing with diarrhea or loose stool or incontinence, it's very important that we cook the vegetables that agree with us, that we feel we tolerate. And that's very important because raw vegetables can cause ongoing or more inflammation when we're in that inflamed state. So that's one of the first rules to follow is just if you're dealing with diarrhea, do not eat raw vegetables and cook the vegetables that agree with you. You can oven roast, saute, steam, stir fry vegetables that agree with you, that are really low carb from the shopping list. So she started doing that, and we work on, for her, she had daily bowel movements, but for a lot of students, they have constipation. So we're working on daily bowel movements. We're working on sleep because a lot of people are sleep deprived and they have a hard time sleeping. And so we have a checklist that we go over. We look at our blood work, we support physiology. So we're really building the body up and really supporting it so that when we start treating, that we tolerate the treatments. So then by the end of May, she was able to start the oxidizing enemas. And this is it's like an oxygen type solution that we add to water, and it will kill parasites that, if we use that in an enema, that will kill parasites on contact. And so she started to, so this is one way that we can start to remove the parasites from our large intestine through these oxidizing enemas. So she started doing those, and she started passing different types of parasites. Some look like a little bit like roundworms, some look like fluke. And then a lot of times we're passing things that look like biofilm and mucus. So she continued with that. And then she really focused on her diet, going low carb, following the Live Disease-Free diet guidelines, but again, cooking her vegetables, so just healthy meats, lots of healthy fat and like moderate amounts of healthy meat, healthy fat, lots of it to keep your weight on, but the cooked vegetables that agreed with her from the shopping list. So then by June the 8th, so she's going a little bit more slowly in the program. People that are quite disabled, it takes a little bit more work, but still it's miraculous how the improvements can just be over such a short period of time in the grand scheme of things. So then by June the 8th, she had done 7 days of these oxidizing enemas, and she had been passing what they thought looked more like flukes and some roundworms. And yesterday and today, like that was on the update from June the 8th, they shared definite improvement in leg strength, in the strength of her legs and her balance. So this is just diet, supporting the body, and starting to clear some of the parasites out of the large intestine. She was able to stand without holding onto something for with at least one hand for 12 seconds, which had not been possible for her for the last year. So again, that's amazing. So balance improving, leg strength, and also being able to just stand without holding on to anything for 12 seconds. And then her bowel movements were still not good. Like they were definitely improving, but this fecal incontinence that she was experiencing, she had it for months before. Like it was basically September, October to the year before, in September, October, that it started. And it really was difficult for them because her husband still had to work, so he would have to get help for her. So because she was not able to hold her stool. And so then, so this all started to improve now, this incontinence with the oxidizing enemas. And so they shared this has also started to improve now. And yesterday and today, her stool was starting to become more well-formed instead of loose and more of a normal color. Because a lot of times when we have diarrhea, it's more of a greenish color, and it was turning more just a normal, healthy brown color. So it's interesting how the function of her bowels was improving, and her leg strength and spasticity and balance and all of that was coinciding with her bowels improving. So then she noticed, she said, they said, we are definitely more hopeful now that we will see more improvements and less reliance on the wheelchair and the walker for mobility as her strength and balances are starting to improve. So this is giving them a ray of hope. It's like, okay, this is working. Nothing we've been doing since 1998 has been working. She's been becoming more and more disabled, and now it's finally working. So they said this is the first time that we've had any hope instead of continued progression to disability that the standard of care treatments were leading to. So then they were going to get energy tested. So we don't have good stool tests to figure out which parasites we have, and we use 6 criteria to determine what types of parasites we will have and what the best treatments would be. One of them would be energy testing. So this is where an integrative practitioner, they will take a sample or a dose of each of the parasite treatments, could be herbs, could be parasite drugs. They hold it into our energy field, and then they are able to tell if it's strengthening us. It's very subtle changes in our energy. So this is biophysics. And they can tell if it's making us stronger or if it's not making a difference or it's making us weaker. And so they'll say, yes, this one's good. No, that one is not testing well. Yes, this one. So they'll give a list. And if it's a good practitioner that uses this practice, this skill in their practice daily, then it can be helpful. It's not an exact science. We have to acknowledge that. But it can be really helpful instead of total trial and error. So she got energy tested, and with the first practitioner that did the energy testing, it was just not helpful at all, unfortunately. So this happens sometimes, right? We're trying to do our best to find the right practitioner, and sometimes the practitioners are not very skilled at it, and sometimes they want to do their own thing. So they're like, they want to test you for what they think that you should do, or they want you to follow their methodology. So the first energy testing results wasn't very helpful. They just continued through the prep phase. So this is where we're supporting the body. We're also taking plant source nutritional supplements, not a lot. We're really simplifying our supplementation, because if we take too many supplements, we can actually feed the parasite. So just minimal supplements, but just continued with the oxidizing enemas and increasing the size of the enema. So it is quite challenging to do enemas when we're quite disabled. And so sometimes partners are really helpful. We've had couples that will do enemas in like a stand-up shower, in a bathtub, or just, like there's many different ways to do this. But now there are some amazing kits that we can use over the toilet that can be really helpful. So her husband continued to help her with enemas and was able to do larger enemas, more milliliters of water, of the oxidizing agent water, and passing more flukes and biofilm and also mucus. So sometimes the mucus and biofilm, they will carry smaller parasites that we can't see with the naked eye. It could be like protozoa, bacteria, fungi, but the bigger worms we can also see. So as she continued on with, they were disappointed that they didn't get the energy testing that they wanted, continued on with the enemas, the oxidizing enemas, noticing that her leg strength was continuing to improve, overall easier for her to transfer from her wheelchair, and also able to keep her knees straighter and more upright when standing. So then we're getting to the end of July, and she continued to pass these parasites just weekly, like several times a week, and continuing to have more improvement in her stool, and having the bowel movements becoming more and more well-formed. So again, the strength improving in her body and the bowels having more consistent, well-formed bowel movements, which is awesome. And then also sharing more strength, returning to her legs, some fluctuating ability to stand up more straight, and sometimes taking short walks inside the house using her walker with supervision. So she's slowly moving forward, getting more strength, starting to move a little bit more. She hasn't really started treating yet. She's been just, supporting the body with lots of nutrition, decreasing the food to the parasites, using these oxidizing enemas, definitely pushing some of the parasites out of the large intestine. But then she was able to work with her doctor and come off of her depression medication. And they were just like, praise the Lord. They were so happy that she was able to come off of that. She didn't need it anymore. So there's so many benefits to treating these parasites. It's not just getting our mobility back, but our hair grows better, our skin, our complexion, our mood, our memory. It's wonderful. And so her sleep was really good, 8 hours of sleep most nights. And so they're really encouraged. They're like, okay, baby steps forward. We're doing better and better. And then by August this year, then they started thinking, well, her bowels are a lot more well-formed. And so maybe we can bring back the raw vegetables or bring back some raw vegetables. But nope, it was too early. So then they noticed that her stool became more runny again. So, this is where it's probably a good idea not to bring in the raw vegetables until we've really started treating with the proper treatments. So they had to go back to the cooked vegetables, which is fine. But, and then they were kind of getting a little discouraged at this point, right? It's like, okay, so we've had some improvements, but we're not using the parasite drugs yet. The energy test results were not great. I'm showing you this because it's like a roller coaster when you're doing this, right? You've been sick and disabled for years. It's not all, peaches and cream and roses. It's like ups and downs. But the thing with this couple is they just kept moving forward. And that's the key to success, is just keep moving forward. So, when they're down, they're like, so can we expect she's going to have more improvements? Do you think so? She's quite disabled. And I'm like, well, I can't make any promises, but we've seen in our students that, if she can stand, then there is a lot more. And she hasn't even started treating yet, right? So they persisted, and they're just like, okay. they got another naturopath to energy test them. And so with that, with energy testing, they actually got a much better result. So like that practitioner gave them much more meaningful information with respect to which treatments would be most helpful. So not just things like Lyme disease, but also really showing the types of larger parasites that she could be dealing with. So, and she also was having improvements, so better focus of her eyes, her skin was improving, improved circulation in her legs, and her ankles were having less swelling. Also increased standing tolerance, so she was able to stand for not huge amounts of time, but better, and her leg strength, especially when doing these enemas. And also going back to the cooked vegetables, right? Because those parasites are still there that are causing the loose stools. And so, she wasn't able to, I don't think she was able to get right back to the well-formed stools because it kind of flared it again, going back to the raw vegetables. So then so she got the energy test results, and so we knew which treatments tested best for her. So with her plan, she was using parasite drugs based on the 6 criteria that we use. And that's like our health history, the health history of our parents, our diagnosis, our symptoms, our energy test results, and the types of parasites that we're passing. So she started her first treatment protocol towards the end of October 24th, and she started using the anti-parasitic drugs. And so it's like, they're like big difference. I should mention too that in the course of all of this, like before she started treating, like when we are quite disabled, we can sometimes have falls or, not necessarily falling to the ground, but she fractured her finger. So she's doing all this with a fractured finger, which is very painful, right? Like my heart goes out to my students. I just love them, and they just are just incredible. So even with her fractured finger, so by November the 15th, huge difference in her, even with her fractured finger. So they sent me a picture of her before and after. So before she started the parasite drugs, she would be like trying to stand up, and she'd be leaning forward and leaning over to the right and just like kind of hunched over. Then on November the 15th, they took another picture of her, and she's like from the back of her, she's standing up straight, not leaning forward, not leaning to the right, but just standing up straight. This was like from October 24th to November 15th. Crazy. So that was one thing, is that her posture greatly improved. Also, she has formed stool for the past 5 to 6 days now, which is tremendous for them, like incredible. So no more fecal incontinence, but actually well-formed stool. And then also her right big toe was spastic, and right now that has improved a lot. Also improving right ankle strength and the ability to actually pump her ankle. So that's like to move her ankle, which she did not have before she started treating the parasites. And her less ankle swelling and more normal color and temperature in her legs and her feet. She is walking short distances with less physical assistance to just basically a light touch, like she's able to start walking with just a light touch, just to make sure that her balance is okay. So amazing. And this is even with her fractured finger, which is still healing. So the major change is in her starting to have normal, well-formed bowel movements. And which was really becoming unmanageable before and extremely time-consuming. So they're so incredibly thankful for what they're doing. And so you can just imagine when you getting ready to treat, we're going to notice significance. You're going to hear some other, I'll just share that in a minute. But also they're going to meet with their doctor to get the catheter removed. Oh, and I forgot to mention too that they sent me 2 videos of worms that were in the catheter tube that they took video footage of. So a lot of us that have bladder incontinence or like urgency, we don't realize that we're dealing with parasites and that's what's causing it. So they have that documented too, which is amazing. So when you have such significant shifts in your health in such a short time, in like 3 weeks, that really means that you're using treatments that are very effective for the parasites that you have. So when you are using the right treatments, you can start noticing symptom improvements within 4 or 5 days, which is absolutely wild. Student number 2, and we'll keep the names anonymous because these are students that are in our program right now. So she just shared last night on our call. We have the coaching call. It's our group call for the Live Disease Free plan. And she said, I just wanted you to know, Pam, that I started 7 days ago after my call with her, the intro call, and my drop foot is almost non-existent. Oh, that's amazing. She said it was the first 3 days were kind of tough, but after that, I've been feeling the benefits of low carbs and no sugars. So excited. So if this is the first time you found me and you haven't explored the Live Disease Free diet, make sure to start with that right away. You can find that on our website, livediseasefree.com, livediseasefree.com, under research in the main menu. Click on the research and you'll see the Live Disease Free diet guidelines. Make sure to start that, and you can start to feel better already. The parasites will still be there, but they will be less active. Crazy. I don't think I've ever had a student have, like, just within 7 days, non-existent drop foot. That's quite remarkable. Make sure to type your questions in the Q&A box. I'd love to answer them later. And then if I run out of time, our team will answer them also. So student number 3, so this is a student that just shared, like, he's ready to treat. So again, we first get ready to treat, then we start treating. And he just shared, like, he started one parasite drug and he said, what I have noticed is that I'm so happy. It's incredible. He said, I've never been so glad to have completely eliminated all my depression. Just like that. Absolutely mind blowing. Just because, like, these people have suffered for years and using antidepressants. And so he's not done. He's just starting to treat. This was just like one parasite drug that he was starting to introduce. This next student is well into the program treating. He is virtually symptom free now. But the latest update he gave me, so like he's like traveling the world and having a great old time moving on with his life. But he said, do you know what is absolutely mind blowing? The past 3 days, ever since I started the treating fungus, which was about a week ago, my eyes have improved. My vision has improved. Have you ever heard of this, Pam? Both of my worst flare-ups were optic neuritis, which caused me to start wearing glasses. And my eyes they're still okay. They were like 80% better. But now my eyes are 100% and I can't wear glasses there. And he said, I just lifted my glasses up like 100 times. Like, what is going on? I don't need my glasses anymore. So he's like, have you ever heard of this before? And I'm like, yes, we have heard of this a lot. So the parasites do get into our brain. They get into our eyes. They get into every part of our body, and they can cause various symptoms. And I don't know if it's just fungus for him. It's not always just fungus that's causing the eye issues, but it could be. But I thought that was really cool. And lastly, I just wanted to share a student that joined in 2024. I just love this lady. You can actually watch her video. She is a retired dentist. Her name is Tracy. And so she is amazing. Like, because she's a healthcare professional or a retired healthcare professional, like when she learned about the parasite, she was bedridden, I should say too, but when she started the program, she was bedridden. Her husband had to do everything. She spent most of her day in bed. She couldn't cook. She couldn't clean. She couldn't do anything. She had years and years of, more and more conditions and symptoms getting worse. She used a walker. She was given braces for her hands because she had such terrible arthritis. she, like the year, I think it was the Christmas before we met, she didn't even know if she was going to keep living. That's how sick she was. So she shared just an update. And she was on her bike. She said, I'm texting you right now, riding my bicycle. And so this is like from May 2024, and now we are in December 2025. So she has recovered and she has been able to start babysitting grandchildren. She's never been able to babysit and feed her family as far as, entertaining them and babysitting and playing in the pool and traveling and moving and exercising. She took up, I think, a fitness trainer. She's actually going to start studying now. Like she wants to start learning more integrative, like from what she's learned. And she just shared, I'm texting you right now, riding my exercise bike. I still can't believe that I have my life back. It is the greatest gift you give to your students, a second chance in life. I pray that your students do as you say and never, ever give up. The program works. I remember getting discouraged in the very beginning, and I felt discouraged again at 7 months into the plan. I had gone about 6 weeks without seeing any worms, and then I started seeing them again, and I really wondered, like, would I ever be able to be done with these parasites? They are very persistent in the body. They are very hardy. And so she passed a lot of worms, and so again, it's like, the ups and downs of it. But she said it took me 18 months to finally get through 2+ months without seeing a parasitic worm. She said, I felt like I was 35 years old again, and I'm actually 70 years old. So age is not an excuse for this, right? And we really have to, like, don't tell yourself that. It's like, oh, I'm too old. There's nothing I can do. We've had a number of people that are 70 years old and they want to live out their last life, like maybe 10, 20 years. They want to live it with excellent quality of life. That's what I would want. I would like to stay out of the care homes as long as possible. So it took her 18 months before she finally got to the place where, like, 2 months in a row, she didn't see any parasitic worms. So now she still is continuing to treat every 4 months, which is really wise. And that's another thing that we've learned is when you've been that heavily infested, it's not wise to just go, oh, I'm done. All the worms, I'm not passing them anymore. I'm good. And just not treat for a year or two, because some of these parasites can lay 200,000 eggs in a day. 200,000 eggs in a day. So they hide under biofilms. There can be eggs, there can be larvae, they can be just hiding in little nooks and crannies in the body. And so if you just stop treating too early, then we end up having, a reinfection of these parasites. So it's better to, recover from incurable diseases, and then instead of just quitting the treatment cold turkey, then to go, okay, I'm going to treat instead of monthly, I'll treat in 2 months, and then okay, I'll treat in 3 months, and then maybe I'll just treat 3 times a year. And then if you're finding that you're not noticing any worms and you're just doing really well and you're not exposed to a lot of parasites, that would mean like gardening and pets and produce and things like that, then maybe twice a year will be enough. But it's really important not to just quit cold turkey, because some of my greatest mentors have shared that if you stop treating too soon, then the leftover remnants of the parasites, they can hatch, grow, their larvae can go into your liver. They can go into your pancreas, they can go into your brain and cause not just lesions in the brain, but tumors in different parts of the body. And if you're wondering about cancer being caused by parasites, there's a lot of scientific evidence showing that, yes, that cancer is an infectious disease on many different fronts. And I've done a couple of talks on that. You can just Google search "live disease-free" and cancer, and you will find that. So yeah, I wanted to ask you guys how you did over Thanksgiving. I really hope that, and now, like, if you caved a little bit over Thanksgiving, you kind of know that you shouldn't eat a lot of carbs. You know that it makes you feel worse. We're going to go into Christmas here right away. So really important that you learn from that. If you did fall off the wagon a little bit over Thanksgiving for the US American Wellness Champions, then it's really important to plan ahead to make sure that you have food and recipes. And look at again, Google search live disease free and holiday meal ideas. I've got lots of videos and written about what are great drinks and appies and meal ideas and side dishes, just ideas on so that you can enjoy the holidays, but you are not going to feed the parasites. When you binge on sugar, the parasites binge with you and you'll feel absolutely horrible. So once you recover, then you will be able to add a little bit more carbs in, but you'll never want to go back, especially if you've been really sick and had a terrible diagnosis like an incurable neurodegenerative or cancer. Like, you'll be so fired up with living and feeling good, and your taste buds change and you won't even like the old really sweet. Like, I can't handle it. Like, even I was mentioning to our students that are some of our kids, they like this Coke soda from Costco, and it's like using an alcohol sugar, so it's not glucose, but like they're like, have a taste, it's really, really good. And I'm like, okay. So I literally had a very small sip of it, and it's just like, oh, and I just made these terrible faces, and they're laughing and they're like, what's wrong with it? And I'm like, it tastes like drinking syrup. It's disgusting. And they don't know this. Well, they don't want to listen to me because I'm their mother-in-law, but they're finding that these alcohol sugars are really hard on your microbiome. So it might not make your blood sugar go up, but it can benefit the parasites and can also just really be negative, not good for your good microbes. And I even heard something about affecting your blood-brain barrier possibly. So don't trust those alcohol sugars. Get rid of your sweet tooth. If you don't have sugar, you're not going to like sugar after a while. Like, I don't enjoy it. It's like disgustingly sweet. It's like, would I like a nice peach or some cherries? Absolutely. But having processed carbohydrates when you're not used to it is like disgusting. So really take your time, a little bit of planning before the holidays, before the Christmas, which we're on the last stretch of the year. And one other thing I want you to do too is to just take a little bit of time and reflect. What has 2025 been for you? What has it been like for you, right? And just kind of think about all the things you've missed, all the things you haven't been able to do. Like, I talk to people every day, and it's like, I spoke with one person today that I believe he joined the program, and he was like, it's really bad when you go to bed at night and you really hope you don't wake up in the morning, right? It can be that bad. And when I hear that, it makes me want to cry, because it doesn't have to be that way. It is so awful that this is not available to the general public. It is so awful that people are losing decades of their life, losing decades of their family time, of doing the things they love to do, making a difference in the world, helping other people, loving other people. And they're just sitting on the sidelines. They're locked in their house. They're more of a homebody, and it's completely unnecessary. If our practitioners knew this, they could help people early intervention, preventing the horrible disability. So think about all of that. Think about, like, what if Pam is right? What if there is a bright future for me? What if there is more to life for me? And start thinking about, what do you want for 2026? Not just pie in the sky goals, but heartfelt goals. Like what are things you haven't done for a long time that you would really like to do? Start making a list. Start putting pictures of yourself around the house when you felt well, when you were doing the things you loved to do, whether it's being with family and friends, whether it's traveling, whether it's riding your bike, whether it's going for a hike, and start to dream again. You've got, like, what do we have left? Like 3 weeks left, or maybe 4 weeks before the end of the year. So if you start to build a really strong intention and a very strong why do you have to succeed? What is your life going to look like in 2026 when you actually take a different path. 30 years ago, 35, 36 years ago, I decided to take a different path. If I would not have taken a different path, I don't even know if I would have been alive today. I had such terrible optic neuritis. It never did recover. I was flatlined on the couch. I couldn't take care of my family. And probably a lot because of my personality, like go, go, go. And I, wasn't getting enough sleep and I wasn't eating right. And I was feeding the parasites. And I'm sure my immune system was quite weakened because of the lack of sleep, the insomnia. And I didn't know. I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and hit a brick wall. Didn't realize that I was dealing with parasites for years. Learned later on, made perfect sense. But our doctors don't know this. So we have a plan. It's called the Live Disease-Free Plan. It is a proven plan. We've had thousands of people take it. And I can guarantee you that if you follow the steps diligently that I have, it's not hard, but you have to follow them. You can't feed the parasites, but if you follow the steps, it will change your life. You will have more recovery than you ever thought possible. Very often we can have full recovery. And so that's really up to you. And I wanted to share one last thing about one student, and I just have so much love and admiration for my students. And so he was not diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, but he was getting a lot of scary neurological symptoms, just a young man. We're seeing a lot of young men having a lot of scary neurological symptoms, heart issues, and all kinds of things. Wonder why. Some of you may have some clues why there's various things that are really making our bodies weaker, our immune system weaker. But he's like, Pam, thank you so much for creating this program, for giving us a space where we can really figure it out and really figure out what's causing which infections, treating, because it's not simple. It's not like popping one pill is going to cure you. And he's done a lot of work. And at the end, I shared, thank you for your kind words, but it is really mostly you. I can only give you the wisdom that's given to me by God. I can only give you the step-by-step plan that has been proven by a lot of other people, but it's you that's the implementer. And so in this program, we are not practitioners. We are coaches. We have a step-by-step plan and you're playing the active role. You are learning how to take charge of your health. You are doing most of the work yourself. And then in the future, once you've recovered, then you know how to maintain your health for the rest of your life. Can you imagine if I didn't know this? Would I be playing with my horses and my grandchildren right now and feeding the chickens and coaching so many people all over the world? We've served thousands of people all over the world doing these live events, all the research I do. Could I do that if I did not treat the root cause? So maybe next year or maybe now would be the best is to get a head start, right? Join the Live Disease-Free Plan. If you believe you're dealing with infections, if you don't know, then do the research. I've got all the blog posts on Live Disease-Free. Just scan my notes and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh, oh, that makes so much more sense. That just makes so much sense. That's all I hear from people. It's finally something that makes sense. And then if you're ready and you're like, okay, I get it. I know I have parasites. It makes perfect sense. Then reach out, watch my masterclass training. And on that training, you'll see all the steps we take in great detail. I also share some concise research about the types of parasites that have been found to be associated with multiple sclerosis. I share a lot of case studies. And then if you're like, yes, this is what I need, then you can fill out the form. And you don't even have to wait till the new year. You can actually fill out the form and you'll get an email. If we feel you're ready, then you'll get an email and then you can watch the coach-a-thon. You and I will meet and we will go over all your questions to make sure it's a good fit for you. And then you will have support even getting through the holidays so that you don't have to start January 1st, 10, 15 pounds overweight or more, feeling like you're dying. No, don't do that anymore. It's just not worth it. Think about if you are tempted to binge, the parasites will be binging with you and they're going to make you feel like death, basically, especially when we have chronic disease. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Make sure to type your questions in the question box. We have an amazing team that will answer your questions, and I will be back next week. And if you like what I share, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps these platforms to push it out to other people so that they can actually get this information like you have, so that they have options, they have hope. And we will see you next week. Take care and bye-bye for now.